This episode of Double Take features the groundbreaking, the phenomenal, the one and only Laura Poindexter.
Glacier, you cold.
Laura Poindexter, Laura Poindexter, Laura Poindexter.
Son, I support you any. I march for you. I fight for you. I even sing for you. For marriage, gay marriage. I'm sorry, son.
Listen up, hoes. Ronnie then brought some new little bitch to the team, and her name is... What the fuck is your name?
Olivia?
Oh, shit. Okay. We ain't talking about the name your mama gave you.
We talking about the name your daddy just gave you. I mean, you just stay up in here with all of this doodling, dabbling. It's writing, Mom. Writing? Girl, writing ain't paying no bills up in here. So I tell you what you gonna do. First thing tomorrow, I want your ass hitting them bricks looking for a job. All right, look, everybody be cool. Listen, gentlemen, my boys here, they don't mean no harm. Honestly, they don't. But it's just that a lot of people make a lot of promises they have no intention on keeping. So unless y'all can show us some of that right now money, right now, we gonna go on and take our chances with one of the bigger record labels.
Your move, Miss Lee.
All right now. Now that's a lot more like it. Boys, look like we got ourselves a record deal. All right?
Laura, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, Brother Minister.
All right. Listen, welcome to Double Take. Oh,
Thank you
man,
so
we are
much.
so honored. Wow. I'll tell you what, you are so awesome.
Oh,
Everything
thank
about you encapsulate what this podcast is all about.
Wow.
I
Thank
mean,
you
listen
so
here.
much.
Wow. Nine-time screenwriter and award winner.
Yes.
3-time award-winning filmmaker and screenwriter of the year.
Yes.
Executive
Yes.
producer, writer, actress, boss lady. and you know you're gonna have to talk about this new poetry, spoken word poetry. Who do you think you are? I'm God. We're gonna touch on that.
Okay, for sure.
So how's
for
everything
sure,
with
for
you
sure.
today?
Things are going well today. I have to admit that I have been past few weeks a bit overwhelmed in a good way, but I also have to admit
Okay.
that whenever I'm overwhelmed is because I'm operating from my own strength. There's
Okay.
nothing that can happen in my life that can overwhelm God. So if I take the back seat, let Jesus take the wheel, then I won't be overwhelmed.
There you
And so
go.
I have to continue. Yeah, I remind myself of that. But all in all, things are actually going really, really great.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. You're looking beautiful.
Thank you.
And so during this pandemic, how is your family? How are your family doing?
Well, I have a lot of family in New York. I and friends in New York. So I was really concerned when the pandemic was at its height. more concerned because of the numbers that were in New York, but everybody is doing fine. I can honestly say that I didn't have any first person accounts until I guess everything started to level off. And I was actually tested positive for COVID as well a few months ago.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. And
Yeah.
so let's talk about that. So what are some of the things that has changed in your life since being tested positive?
Okay, the COVID discussion is just it's I guess it's kind of weird for me. So number one, when COVID, everybody started talking about COVID, I wasn't surprised. I don't think any of the people of God should have been surprised because everything you need to know is right there in the word. So this is the time that we're
That's right.
living in. So to be honest with you, to be completely honest with you, when it started and all through the height of it, I was covered and I lived my life. I was covered and I lived my life. I'm not
Yes.
saying that I wasn't careful, but God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. I lived my life, and I remember vividly the Holy Spirit. I had food, I had water. You know, God always tells me keep these things on the side. Like I always am prepared for whatever's coming. The Holy Spirit told me to go out and get water. And you know, sometimes we be talking back to the Holy Spirit. I was like, God, I got water. I gotta go out. Why I gotta go out? God wanted me to go out. So I go out and Brother Minister, I pull in the parking lot of the mall that's close to my home and sat in my truck and I watched this mayhem and this aggression and this fear, and that's what he wanted me to see, like people even pushing old people out of the way and snatching stuff off the shelves. And you know, I just needed to see that because despite what anybody may think, harder days are coming. So for me, just like anybody, it has been getting adjusted to the changes. But I can honestly say, all in all, I was not surprised at anything that I saw. And I can also say that I wasn't as fearful as a lot of people. So I asked God to please give me compassion and help me to show holy boldness and still be compassionate to what people were dealing with, because it was very shocking, and for some people were really, really caught off guard. I don't feel like I was that caught off guard with the whole thing. My COVID symptoms were minimal to the fact that I'm sure I had COVID for about 5 days before I lost my taste buds. I'm out, I'm shopping, I'm interacting with people. Of course, I'm masked up, but I had minimal symptoms, praise God. I tell people the blood of Jesus is the best insurance policy, health insurance policy you can have. And I got over it in 10 days, retested, tested negative, and I've been doing well since that time.
Well, man, praise God. That's so awesome. That's wow,
Yeah.
wow. So what are some of the advice would you give those individuals who probably tested positive? Now, what kind of advice would you give them?
Wow, because you know, it's just so hard to be political now. So I know that it was the mask war, then it was for me, number one, social distancing is an extension of social media, right? Social media is supposed to be
Yes.
social, but it creates these pockets where we separate ourselves from each other and we find these groups of people, and then we find things to worship. And people, if they don't get enough likes, become depressed. Social distancing says stay 6 feet apart and we can't see our family. Mask versus people who believe in them, people who don't, versus the vaccine. I think that it is a larger agenda. Again, I know that I am going to be called to be political to some extent, but my advice to anybody who's tested positive is that you already have herd immunity. If you tested positive and you are still living and breathing, you have herd immunity. I would suggest to
Yes.
anybody to maybe wait before you go out and get the vaccination. I haven't been vaccinated, and I haven't. I have no intent on getting vaccinated. I believe that it'll come a time where the powers that be will say to people like me, well, you don't have it, you can't travel, you don't have it, you can't come here, you can't come there, because our liberties are being taken away little by little by little. But I would tell anybody to be aware of your health, be aware of your surroundings. I'm not telling people not to be cautious, but I just want people to pay attention beyond what we're seeing. Look deeper. There is a deeper meaning. And I think that you will get that deeper meaning if you listen to what the Spirit, he that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying. And so that's probably the advice that I would give, to really put your ear to the Spirit. And I know that that's hard, because this life makes it really hard for us to hear what the Spirit is saying.
All right, I'm going to ask you one more question concerning that. So how do you feel about faith versus the vaccine? Are they diametrically opposed to each other? What do you think about that?
Faith, Faith.
Yes, faith versus the vaccine. You know, because there's been a debate on whether or not.
Well, Brother Minister, to be completely honest, again, let's before I answer that directly, let me just say this. In my knowledge of vaccines, I'm not a doctor, I'm not in the medical profession, but to develop a vaccine takes years and years and years and years and years. Then once a vaccine is developed, there are additional accumulated years to test the vaccine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I want people to think about this how is it that we have a vaccine so quickly? So now again, this is about the larger learning and coming out of the sheep mentality, doing your own research. The information is out there. Okay, I walk by faith and not by sight. I don't want to argue with people who believe in the vaccine, and I don't want people to argue with me because I don't believe in it. I am just saying that the Spirit is telling me not to take it. And not only is the Spirit telling me not to take it, God saw fit to allow me to have COVID. I was not on a ventilator with COVID. I did not have a fever with COVID. I did not have body aches with COVID. I did not lose my appetite with COVID. I'm telling you, for 5 days, I know I had it, and I was walking around and doing whatever I needed to do. And while the news was telling people about ventilators and deaths, which I think a lot of it was propaganda, that's just me. Why weren't they telling you about people like me who had minimal symptoms or were asymptomatic? Because I'm more dangerous to the population than the person on the ventilator.
That's awesome.
I'm more dangerous because I'm out and about and I'm interacting with people. I'm touching fruit, putting it back on the shelf. I am more dangerous. Why wasn't you have to, if you're going to talk about it, talk about all of it. You had to have something that says numbers are coming in now and we're finding that there are people who have minimal symptoms or are asymptomatic. The people like me were probably giving COVID to people because the people who are responsible for reporting the news gave the narrative that they wanted to give so that the numbers could increase, because when the numbers increase, they can push an agenda. And like I'm just saying, that's just me, Brother Minister. That's what the Spirit is telling me, Brother Minister.
And I can understand that, because it says, according to your faith, be it unto you, So I respect your stance. And, to each his own, they have to locate their fate when it comes to that. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
we're gonna get off of this topic and get on something a little lighter. but what but I just I felt like we had to talk about it a little bit, Yeah. So, but now I tell you what, for all of those viewers who are watching, and this is their first time seeing you and hearing from you, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you was born and raised, and just give us a little brief introduction of who you are as a person.
I'm Laura, the songwriter, Poindexter. No, I'm just saying. I like to always say this, before I tell anybody who I am and where I am right now, I like to tell everybody who I was and where I was. I am a recovering crackhead with 34 years clean. I am an ex-convict. Wow. I'm a felon.
Yes.
I come from the mud, and it wasn't because my family didn't try to provide right. I found myself in a backslidden situation at a very young age, and I was brought up and raised in the church. I like to tell people my biggest accomplishment was being able to show people that it ain't never over. I don't care what the world says. I don't care what the enemy says. As long as you got breath in your body and faith in God, it ain't never over. Outside of the awards, outside of the movies, outside of all of that, before I got to this place, brother minister, I lost everything. Everything. And I had nothing but Jesus. Nothing.
Oh, man.
And
wow.
You have got to be a fool if you think that a 50-year-old woman who never had any acting training, no screenwriting, no directing, none of that, could come in this industry and do what I did without a mighty God. You a fool. Everything I am, all that I hope to be, is because of his death and resurrection. Before I got here, I had nothing. Nothing, brother minister, nothing. I had lost everything.
Wow, man. So, only a fool says there's no God. And you are a living witness. I just want to tip my hat. I thank God for you, because you are blessing millions of people right now. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on this podcast, because of your testimony and where you was at one time and what the Lord is doing in your life now. So I just want to tip my hat to you. You are such an inspiration to me and everybody who's watching this podcast. So those are tears of joy right now. Tell me a little bit about your parents and your siblings.
My mother died when I was 6 years old. I come from a 2-parent household. My mother died when I was 6 years old. She was a postal worker. She worked for the federal government, and my dad was a hustler. And when my mother passed away, my father felt like he was ill-equipped to raise 2 girls. I have a younger sister. And so we basically moved with my father's mother, and I simultaneously lost both of my parents at the same time. And I was very, very angry. I was angry with God. I was angry with my family, because I've told this story so many times. African-American families do not have the luxury of grieving. We do not have that luxury. We must get on with the business of life. We don't have that wealth, that extended wealth, or those things that have been in place. And so when we talk about, if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. African-American people, we make it up as we go. That's one of the things that makes us great, though. But that's another story. Yes. But I didn't have that. Yes. Yeah, that's what we mentioned, but I didn't have that luxury. And I tried to let my dad and my grandmother and my other family members know that when my mother passed, I died with my mother. I died with
Wow.
her.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
I believe that because I started getting high when I was 14 years old, but I believe that if I knew how to get high at 6, I would have got high at 6. Because the first time that I
Okay.
used drugs made me forget how much pain I was in. And so
Yes.
I wanted to not feel that pain, and it created a whole nother pain in and of itself. But yeah, I come from a 2-parent household, a really good family, Christian background. My family provided a very good life for me. I danced for the dance theater Harlem when I was very young. Me and my sister, we were we were offered very diverse experiences. We went to the theater as very young children, and we did Central Park and we did Fifth Avenue, and my family was very, very, very good to me. But I was in pain. I was in pain, and losing my mother really messed me up for a very, very long time. And I got clean when I found out I was pregnant with my son. I was 21 years old. So from 14 to 21, I got high and I tore up Harlem. I just tore up Harlem. I ran the streets. I was wilding out. And I got clean when I found out I was pregnant with my son.
Okay. Okay. One of the things that I know about a testimony, right? The Lord would use that testimony, right, to bless everybody that hears it. Because a lot of time when we are going through it, right, we're not making sense of it. We're not understanding it. But when I see Unshakable Faith Productions, right, all of the things that you're talking about now. Listen, it was just seeds planted, you know what I mean? So I like to tell everyone, even in my background, my good times and my bad times made me who I am today, right? And so as you was talking, I was listening, I was like, wow, because I know what you're doing now. you know and so I know that it was hard, especially losing your mom at a young age. But
You
you
know,
know what though? Look, go ahead.
the thing for me is that so awesome is that God will take, man, he can take any, listen, when you go through these types of things and experience these things, you think in your mind from the human condition, oh man, I really don't want to talk about that. That ain't nobody's business. Look at what I'm doing now. But when God takes it and says, I'm going to take your mess and I'm going to use your mess not just to bless somebody else, but your mess is going to be the platform that you stand on. I said, oh, come on, Jesus. I never thought.
and, and I love that you use the term platform, right? Because I'm a writer myself, right? And I know when you, as a writer, you can go to certain places, right? When you're writing, and I know, growing up in Harlem and all of the things that you went through has to be influencing your writing to a certain degree.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Shout out to Harlem. And let me just say something. Harlem has been, Brother Minister, I promise you that you really can stay grounded and focused when you're not just doing it for yourself. Because the
Yes.
people that I grew up with, we're finding each other on social media. Do you know one thumbs up from them is worth a million applause from somebody else in a higher position, because they know they were there in the mud with me. Shout out to Harlem. Man, shout out to Harlem, has been supporting me so much. And when you're not just doing it for yourself, there is something when you're doing
Yes.
it not just for yourself. I don't even know how to explain it, but my push, my passion, and my fire is not because I'm winning. It's because when I win, I'm gonna make sure that everybody that God said, Laura, make sure, Laura, make sure, Laura, make sure. And so the journey or the calling is not just for for me to get someplace. God said it's bigger than you. God said it's big when it's bigger than you, brother minister. It's something that they just can't get you down. I get bad days, but I'm grinding for more than just me, and that keeps me
there you go.
It keeps my fire burning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I know, as a boss, Unshakable Faith Production, so I know I get this asked a lot. This question asked, it was like, well, how are you able to be working on your third movie during a pandemic? I was like, the Lord is my source. But hiring people right now when everybody's unemployed, right? So let me ask you this: Do you feel like the Lord is really using you to be an example in such a way? When I say example, I'm talking about like a mentor, bringing young people under your wings and just teaching them certain things, because you have a lot you can teach them.
I do believe that God is using me, but it's very strange that it's my mentorship is probably not what people see as mentorship. So April, is she still on there? A very good friend of mine, business partner, business associate. We talk all the time. April Morrison, shout out to her. She says, Laura, I think you're just misunderstood. And that thing dropped in my spirit. And so I said, okay, God, what are you telling me? So let's say if you had a gathering, right? And you invited.
Yes.
You had a gathering and a friend of yours said to you, brother minister, I have a friend I want to bring. You say, sure, the more the merrier. You bring that friend. They bring that friend, but that friend doesn't really interact. And so when the party's over, your friend is helping you clean up and you say to him, that guy you brought is really, really misunderstood. God said, you're not misunderstood. You're peculiar. I'm a peculiar person.
Yes.
So my mentoring is peculiar. I'm not here. This is the last hour. This is the bottom of the ninth. I'm not here to pet you up. I'm not here to say what you did was okay. That's not the kind of mentor I am. I'm sure that God does have those type of mentors. I'm not that mentor. I'm the mentor that says, this is what you want to do. You need to get it together. You need to be able to walk upright. Stop listening to this one, that one, Joe Smo, blowing with every. I am a mentor, but I'm a different kind of mentor, brother minister. I'm a different. No, absolutely not. I've been there because when I got clean and sober, I went into health and human services for 23 years. I got men's child support stopped. I got women's children out of foster care. I've worked as a site supervisor for Johns Hopkins Center for Social Concern. I've worked for drug court. I worked for the Veterans Administration. I could go into welfare and say, that blue book, pull it down. Page 36, paragraph 2, article 3. You need to get these people what they're here for. I've gotten veterans, they DD2. God has had me out there doing that type of work. When he saved me, he sent me back out there and I kicked down doors for people. I kicked down and I was passionate about it. So yes, I am a mentor in this industry, but I'm a different kind of mentor. You can't step to me with no foolishness.
Oh,
I'm sure that you know what I'm saying, brother minister? I'm sure that God has some people out
I
there
know.
that you probably need to work with, but I'm not that one. Time running out, brother minister. Time running out.
Yeah, let's switch gears. Let's switch gears. All right, so listen. All right, tell me what you are working on right now.
Oh man. Okay, so right now we are currently in a hold up in post production for cameras rolling. We need to get another block of footage, but cameras rolling is an expose about the independent filmmaking industry. April Morrison, executive producer, Laura Poindexter, producer, director. This is going to blow their minds. We're in stall on post-production. We need to get that footage, and then we're coming in with that. And so that's almost done. That's almost off the table. On the 10th, I'm going to actually be working with Trebell Nickerson on her new talk show, Family Secrets. In June, we will be filming AMP Studios by April Morrison Productions. And Brother Minister, I just signed my first deal memo, baby.
Wow. Congratulations. Wow.
And,
wow. Look at that.
so-
Look at it.
Yeah, it's all God. So choose this day, the one that's won all the awards. We will be going into production on that probably late summer, early fall. So happy to say we have Dietta West, who's already signed on to the project, Charles D. Clark, and we are currently in negotiation with some other celebrities. As soon as we get those celeb contracts out, I will make an announcement about who my distributor is, but I can't do it right now.
No, but listen, I would love to have you back to talk about that.
Oh my God, our time is up already.
No, not yet. But I'm having so much fun. I can talk to you forever. All right, so basically, let's talk about your inspiration for your writing. What inspires you? What motivates you when it comes to writing?
Okay, so like you said, I think all of us have stories in us. I honestly can say that everybody has the ability to write a good story if they have the courage to be honest.
I like that. I know.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yes.
So the inspiration for my writing is the courage to be honest. I'm gonna lay it down. I'm gonna put it on the table, because once God has forgiven me, I really don't care what you think.
That's being bold as a lion right there. A lioness. All right. Hey, I like that. So let me ask you this. What was the first thing you wrote? What was your first? What the first thing you wrote?
That poetry that I posted today. Who do you think you are? I am God. So I said earlier that I lost everything. Now remember, I'm on drugs. I get clean. Even now when I'm clean, I'm still going through some things. I'm, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But when I get all my feet in and I'm doing right and I'm living a righteous life, the rain falls on the just and the unjust, just alike. He's sovereign. He can do what he wants to do. Right. So at the time when I begin to lose everything, I'm thinking I'm doing everything right. It's nothing of my own doing. And so slowly but surely, I'm losing everything, and I'm getting angry. Drugs are no longer an option, because I'm not just in recovery, but I'm delivered from drugs. You understand? There's a difference when you're delivered. So,
Amen.
Yes. Right. So I'm talking, I'm praying, I'm crying, I'm going to church. I'm like, and one day I was like, "What's up?" I'm beefing with God. I'm like, "What is up?" And I mean, I am going in. And people need to be honest. People say, well, let's talk about you shouldn't question the Lord. God never said that you couldn't question him. He said, remember who you're talking to. Lord, you can ask me whatever you want to ask me. He's a friend that's closer to a brother, closer than a brother. I can ask God whatever I want to ask.
That's right.
He said, just watch. Remember who you're talking to. And in that moment, I have to be honest and say that I didn't care that I was talking to God because I was so angry, and I asked him, who do you think you are? What do you want me to do? And he said, write. God is the one
Wow.
that told me to write. That's why I'm an award-winning
Wow.
writer. God is the
Yeah.
one. When he told me to write, I was so confused. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? And of course, I was disobedient. But when I conceded to what he said, I wrote 30 poems. And those poems primarily
Wow.
are what I said to God and what God said to me. And who do you think you are? I am God. Those are those poems. Those were my first writings, and I could hear God's voice like you can hear my voice now. And when I was writing it, it was almost like I was just, I really know how to explain it. I mean, because in order for me to write it, I had to do the physical manifestation, pen in my hand, paper. But for the words
Yes.
would just come. They were pouring out of me. They were pouring. That was my first writing.
Yes.
Who do you think you are? I am God.
Wow, that's awesome. I tell you what, that is.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So listen, I have a team myself, right? We film movies. So what do you look for when you're assembling a team?
Oh man, well, I'm gonna tell you what I look for when I'm assembling a team. Not that I very rarely have received that here in this market. So what I look for, again, that honesty is very important to me. If you say that you can do it,
Yes.
then you need to be able to do it. If I sit down and explain what the job is, tell me what you can and cannot do. Do not sing me a lullaby to get the check and not deliver. So I'm looking for honesty.
Yes.
Then I'm looking for people who are problem solvers. I didn't hire you to bring me
Yes.
more problems. Okay. So when you hire me to do a job and I run into a problem, when I come to you, I'm going to tell you what the problem is and how I solved it.
Yes. Yes.
So I look for problem solvers. I look for people who are also team players and have the ability to communicate. Communication is very important in everything, but in filmmaking, it is critical because one
Yes.
glitch in one department creates this domino rippling effect.
No. That's true. That's so true. Yes, that's true.
Right?
That's true. Yes,
So
yes.
I'm
So
looking for people who understand that it's a process. We live in a
yes,
time now where everything is microwave. It needs to happen now. Da 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 da. Things do not happen. Like I
yeah.
tell people all the time. Well, Miss Laura, what do you think? I say I don't know. I need to process that. They be looking at me like I'm
That
crazy.
makes sense
I
though.
need to process it.
Yes, yes, yes. And another thing too, I want to ask you this. So I know I run across this all the time. When you have a vision, God gives you a vision, right? And you communicate that vision to your team, and you assemble your team. But when you run across an individual who is more brand minded instead of vision minded, they're more concerned about their brand than about fitting in and following the vision that you communicate to them.
Okay, so we have a saying in our team. So it's my team when I'm working on something, and I'm a part of their team when they're working on something. So when you have a brand and you're working with me, then your brand, it doesn't matter. If you're working with me, the work that you're doing with me can only bolster your brand.
Correct.
We're not
Exactly.
having right. Do I get to pay you less money because you worried about your brand? Because when I pay you to do a job, it's not about your brand. It's about what you can do in terms of the job. You do a good job for me, and you go back and put that on your resume, and that bolsters your brand. The problem, brother minister, with this industry is people don't understand business from a comprehensive level. Let me, brother minister, see, you getting ready to get me up on my soapbox. There is
That's what I want.
Oh, brother minister, there is a basic modality for successful business, and that is never going to change. Now, there will be different nuances and different language depending upon the sector, but the paradigm for business success is what it is. And if you operate outside of that paradigm, you will not see success. I don't care what you think or what anybody says. People here are flying by the seat of their pants when it comes to business.
Yes, and that leads me to my next question. I know we talk. I want you to talk to me about. There was something that happened to you.
Oh my God!
And I want you to touch on that. I wanted to make sure I brought that up.
Wow. Okay. So, because of where God has taken me, we talked about discernment and being aware, and so He's taken me to another level. And so I prayed and I said, Lord, I hear about these stories about the Illuminati and people selling out and blood sacrifices. God, how does that happen? You know, how can people just do that? And, you know, I prayed, I asked him, and I kept asking him, and he showed me. So about a month ago, close to a month ago, I had to go in and do pickups. So I signed a contract with an independent company for whatever my day rate is. And under that contract, if they look at the footage in post-production and anything is missing under my original contract, I have to go in and do pickups. I know that.
Okay.
When they called me to come in to do the pickups, they said to me, we need you to do an additional scene. So again, it goes to business and knowing this business and educating yourself. I'm not obligated to do any additional scenes under my original contract.
Gotcha.
Any additional scenes require a different contract. So I'm trying to get some dialogue and talk about it. I'm being put off and put off and put off. We finally have a small talk about it. I still don't get all of the details. And to make a long story short, on the night of that Saturday before the Sunday shoot, I still did not get the new contract. In the meantime, makeup has been sent. My makeup directions have been sent to my MUA for this most egregious, hideous, demonic witchcraft makeup ever. It's not sent to me.
Oh, wow.
It's not sent to me. Yeah. So I get up that morning, I see the contract, and the contract has, I've got to be diplomatic. It has one of the most popular film companies on the planet is now on this contract. Now remember, the original contract is the original independent contract. Evidently, what we did under that contract, it was shown and it was shopped and it was picked up by this company that I cannot name. This company is now on the contract. Watch this, brother minister. But my dollar amount hasn't changed. People, that's what we call a sharecropper's contract. Okay, they think that because I see the name of this company, I'm going to sign all willy-nilly. Keep in mind, guys, I still don't know about the makeup that they got planned for me. Then I get a text, and the text says, oh, Miss Laura, we have blood and a cigar. Things should get weird, but I'm sure you'll be all right. Now, this is now 5 hours before it's time for me to film. So let me run it down for you. I get my new contract. with one of the top production companies on the planet Earth, but I don't get new contract terms. Makeup is sent to my MUA, but it's not sent to me. Blood is introduced now. Whenever you deal with a talent, blood, bodily fluids, being naked, dogs, babies, that's a different contract, and that's another conversation. You can't introduce any of those things to me without having a, how do you feel about nudity, Laura? How do you feel about blood? Because you don't know, none of those things were discussed. Let me tell you how they was going to get me. That name of that big company was supposed to make me sign. I asked God to show me how people sell out in this industry for people who don't believe it's real. It's real, people. So he showed me. I called them and I said, I'm not signing this contract. They said, what? I'm not signing this contract. I know I'm obligated to fill the commitment for the pickups under the original contract. Would you like me to come in for that? They was like, no, I don't want you nowhere near my set. I said, okay, that's it. But
wow,
this is how they ask you for a little, and then a little, and then a little. And as you start giving up a little bit of your morals and a little bit of God and a little bit and a little, then you get this big thing. And I asked God, because I know where he's taking me. He showed me where he's taking me. I was like, God, I don't want to, I can't get caught up. Show me, God. And he sure as I asked him, he showed me blood, a cigar, voodoo, makeup. I was supposed to come in and do a scene and cast I'm not conjuring up those spirits in my life. I don't care who's on that contract. Yes, it's real, brother minister.
Yes, I know. You know, and that brings me to my next question. You know, I believe that those who create content, right? And that's why I named this show, let's take a second look, right?
Double take.
Right, because I feel like those who create content has an awesome responsibility, right? So how do you feel about the content that has been created now? What's your take on it?
I don't feel any way. I find myself watching reruns. I'm a documentary person. I've always loved documentaries, but I have a deeper love for them now. I do search out content, but there is nothing that I am necessarily crazy about in terms of content. I believe that if a man and woman go inside the bedroom, if you close the door, I know what they're going to do. You understand what I'm saying? I believe that we have content that we label as entertainment to justify what it is. We feel like we put it, say it's entertainment, then people can be like, oh, it's just entertainment. There is some good content out there, and big ups and salutes to people who are being conscious about what they're putting out. But to be completely honest, there's not enough good content, but I need to cap that off with a lot of good content is being turned away because it doesn't push a narrative or an agenda. That's why it's important for independents to make films.
Yes. And another question I have for you, have you ever been discriminated against, being a female, African American woman in this particular industry? I'm pretty sure you have experienced that on one level or another.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I have to be honest. What I've experienced as an African American filmmaker, my executive producer, a number of women that I know, it's come from African American men in the field. Unfortunately.
Wow.
I just have to be honest, and I have to be honest that I'm in competition with my brothers. It shouldn't be, because I come from where I come from a place where our men take care of us. They make sure that we all right. You know, they make sure that, hey, they protect us. And since I've been in this industry, I have to honestly tell you that the most discrimination that I've experienced has been from African American men in the independent filmmaking industry. That's why we're doing Cameras Rolling. That's just my truth. And I'm not saying all, because all of anything is not all of everything. That is just my experience.
Yes. Wow. That's man. So another question I have is, when it comes to, working with people who lack certain character, they have character issues. So, you notice how I phrased that, right? All right, so, elaborate on that a little bit, When you run across someone whose character is suspect, there's a lot of that in this industry.
It's a lot, but I have to tell you that my reputation does go out before me, and it was a minute. For a minute, I struggled with it, but that was the enemy. God said, let it go out before you. If it goes out before you, then it will whittle down those who come into your space. So before my reputation went out before me, I saw that those suspect people, I were coming in more contact. I don't have that problem anymore because the word is out. I'm not the one. The word is out. The word is out. But it's unfortunate because I find hardworking, dedicated people who are knowledgeable, who a lot of these people get taken because they just want to give somebody the opportunity. And how somebody could take advantage of an opportunity is beyond me. And then too, you have to remember, Atlanta expanded rapidly. So for rapid expansion for any place, if something grows exponentially at that rate, it's going to always make room for people to come sneak in between. They're going to come in and they're going to stay long enough to learn the language and talk the talk. And so that's just something we all have to look out for, because the stories that I have from people, good people, hardworking people who have been just taken advantage of in this industry is really sad.
Okay, let me ask you this: how do you deal with a Judas? You find out you have a Judas on your team.
E tu brute?
Yes.
I gotta be honest with you. So I gotta shout out to April. I gotta shout out to Natalie E. Davis, Susan Norton. I have women around me that balance me out. Let me not even tell no story since I'm on truth. Yeah, I'm still a work in progress. I'm still a work in progress with that. Pastor, I ain't gonna lie. Okay. So we had the Holy Ghost revival. We've been shouting and clapping. It got so bad that I had to call my family in New York. And my family, let me just tell you, they're not saved, Pastor. They're not saved. They're not saved.
We all have those family members like that. They're coming out with the strap and everything.
Yeah, right. And that's when I knew that I had to take I had to take a break, because once I called them, there's no stopping them. When you call them, there's no, wait a minute, I didn't mean that. I didn't. So when I called them, I knew that I had to step back. I had to really reorganize how I did things. And that's when I signed my deal. And when I signed my deal, well, like I said, I can't talk about who I signed the deal with, but who I signed the deal with, he's a very powerful African American filmmaker. And I knew that believe it, like I said, I was taken advantage of by African American men in the industry. So now I have an African American man in the industry that he's gonna be like, oh no, 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 no. And so while I said that I was taken advantage by brothers, I did find a brother to stand with me. That goes to show that I don't believe all of everything is, you know. So
yes,
I don't really have to handle any Judases anymore. I'm telling people straight off the muscle, you know, I love Jesus real good, but don't come to me with any fugazi. If your intentions are ill, I'm gonna give you what you're looking for, because I'm still a work in progress in that area, Pastor.
Hey, listen. Let me give you take a minute, you know, and shout out your armor bearers. You know, your team, the one that rolls their sleeve up for you.
Oh my God, the shout outs. I got to shout out number one, my girl, April Morrison Productions. She drives me crazy.
What's up,
let me
April?
tell you something. April drives me crazy, but April is a rider and she is loyal. Shout out to my cousin James Barlow. We live in that snob life. You guys have to check him out at Harlem Snob. The website, my cousin, he gave me my first bag. He dropped the bag on me for my first film. That's the 3-time award winner, Choose This Day, the prequel. Shout out to him. Shout out to Susan Norton. Shout out to Trebell Nickerson. Shout out to Natalie E. Davis. Shout out to Parrish King, my photographer, videographer. I love you, man. I can't do this without you. Sierra Hawthorne, she keeps my life together. God, it's so many people to shout out, but the people that I named, those are my ride or dies right there. Forrest Tough, filmmaker Forrest Tough. Yo, man, you are my dude. You are my man. 100 grand. It's so many people, but that's my team right there. We got a really small, tight-knit group of people. Shout out to Demi Johnson, her husband, Christopher Johnson, actors Christopher James Green, Kadeem Hunter, Jay Nance. I could go on and on and on and on and on, but we've come up together. We've had some successes and losses, but we've all managed to stick together. And even when we're apart doing our own thing, it just makes us stronger when we come together. So yeah.
Wow, man, that is so awesome, because I'm a big fan of yours. And I'm looking and I know you have to have a strong team to do all of the things that you're doing now.
Most definitely.
Wow, that is so awesome. So is there someone out there in the film industry that you always wanted to work with, but you haven't got a chance to work with that person?
Spike Lee.
Spike Lee? Oh yeah.
Definitely,
Okay.
because Spike Lee he changed it for independence. Spike Lee said, I'm gonna make this film. I'm not thinking about what you say I gotta have. And if I don't have this, I can't do it. He did it. And then he worked with actors and he continued to work with those same actors. But what people don't know is that Spike Lee had become critically acclaimed, and he still had to do fundraising efforts just because he bucked the system. And when you buck the system, they have this kind of appearance of acceptance, but I can only imagine what he really went through. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard for them to shun him because we're watching. But even after he had critical acclaim, he still had to do Indiegogos and GoFundMes. So it would definitely be Spike because he kicked open the door for independent filmmakers.
Yes, and I'm an independent filmmaker myself.
When you cast it, come on, Pastor, you gotta cast me. You got some jobs over there. Holla at your girl.
No, I'm gonna holler at you. Listen. Before I want to say this, I have really enjoyed myself. You are such a queen, a boss, and so classy and so awesome. I mean, you have blown me away. To be the first guest, you encapsulate everything this double take is all about. Yes, and I always, and I want to just introduce like a spiritual vitamin right now. So, Ephesians 2:8 says, "For by grace are you saved through faith, not of yourselves. It is the gift of God." So God gave us a gift. It is Jesus. We don't have to work for a gift, right? He gave us Jesus free. So, and I just wanted to leave that with my viewers. But once again, I just thank you so much, man. And I know we just barely scratched the surface, when it comes to all of the things that you're doing right now. But I think we made a good man.
I think so too, and I want to congratulate you on Double Take, and I also want to thank you for the word that you're putting out. What you are putting out is so inspirational, and so I'm so happy to have another soldier on the battlefield. You know what I'm saying, Pastor?
I know.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you again, especially when you start going back into, doing your production and finishing that up. Please come back.
Absolutely. Anytime. I'd be so honored to come back. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's been my pleasure. I mean, I've had so much fun. It's like I've known you all of my life. And so thank you so much once again. And I look forward to watching and looking at the things that you are doing, what you'll be doing in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And the same for me, looking for what you have coming out, be looking for your castings and looking for everything. All right. So yeah, I'm trying to work with you. I'm trying to work with you too. So I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there for everybody. I'm trying to work with you too.
Oh, definitely. We got to talk about that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. So this say bye to our viewers.
See ya. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.